Hey everybody. So recently, Nightblue3 and Last Shadow got into a bit of a drama. But even calling it that is a bit, in my opinion, incorrect. Recently, Last Shadow attacked Nightblue for things that were proven factually incorrect. Instead of apologizing, he doubled down and continued to call him even worse things. If you already know the drama, you can skip ahead, but just as a real quick recap, Twitter user Florence said, LOL, he may or may not have called me a whore and flamed me to his stream of 5,000 people for the entire game. First game with Nightblue, but I don't think I'm a fan. By the way, if someone has the screenie of him typing that I'm a whore in team chat, please post LOL. Now that doesn't exist, that screenshot actually doesn't exist, which I'll get into later. Nightblue responded by saying, ? I'll just leave this here. Now I'm gonna go through all these screenshots because I think it's important that everyone has all the information read in order to go forward. People that don't read all the information tend to have wrong beliefs. If you actually read everything, you'd have been a little bit skeptical like I was. Before I go any further, I just want to remind everyone this isn't a women bad issue, okay? I know exactly what you guys are gonna do. You're gonna start saying e-girl this, e-girl that. Okay, I'm not interested in that. In the screenshot, Nightblue says, before you hit 6. Florence responds, you're legit not looking at map while you AFK jungle. Please watch replay of this game and look at your positioning. She pings him, please turn it into content. Nightblue says, okay Florence, thank you. You're a great player, thanks for advice. Florence responds, I'm not saying that LOL, I'm just saying watch replay when I ask if you're blind. Later in the game, Florence says, I don't know how Graves jungle has negative impact, and then she hit her keyboard. So at this point, we have completely unverified claims of Nightblue calling her a whore, and that's it. That's the entire drama. It's just Nightblue and somebody in solo queue having a post-game spat. It's really not actually that dramatic at all. Nothing here really actually seems out of the blue. People often have Twitter confrontations about League of Legends. It's a frustrating game. This is when the bullying begins. LS asserts himself into this drama, although nobody asked him, and says, she didn't even say anything bad, you're ill. She's saying you're AFK, not paying attention to the game while clearing, and you turn around and call her a whore, which as of this point has not been verified and was later proven to not be true. He says, you continue to be just one of the most perplexing pieces of shit that was ever birthed from the LoL community. Nightblue was actually a bit enraged by this, because this was a very personal and horrible insult. Actually, he responded very maturely, please don't call me mentally ill, that's not very daiju-boo. Realizing that Nightblue wasn't gonna take the bait and actually starting to respond a bit respectfully to it, actually once again that was a lie, LS says, shut the fuck up clown. I literally can't believe anyone respects this dude. I literally, how do you respect a person like this? It blows my mind. Nightblue says that he did type whore, but it was only to get himself system muted so that he couldn't engage in the flame war anymore. LS says, yes, you just type a word conveniently, which would be a slur towards the only female player in the game that you know is a female, then talk about it on stream, but it wasn't directed at anyone. True. There are so many problems with this, but let me just begin with the very obvious. Nightblue and the person, Florence, that they're arguing, have both said that they've never played together, so how would Nightblue even know that it's a woman to begin with? And second off, and I guess here's a question, has LS not actually thought that maybe whore isn't only an insult towards women? Because that seems actually kind of weirdly sexist. After Nightblue says he's gonna make a video to clear this all up, which he later did, LS tweets, claims he wrote the word whore to self-mute, which was proven to be true. Yes, coincidentally, only one female player in the game and he knows it. This is called reiterative tactics, aka propaganda. This is not true and LS just keeps repeating it because I guess he thinks that his viewer base will just accept that it's true if he just keeps saying it. Once again, Nightblue did not know that that was a woman. The only possible way is if you assume that someone with the name Florence who's playing support is a girl, which again kind of seems weirdly sexist. He then talks about it on stream, which LS later talked about this on stream, so this seems a bit silly. Then he says, need to stand up for myself, which yes, LS, you are attacking him on Twitter multiple times using horrible insults. I do believe he gets the right to stand up for himself, and now you're just insulting him with memes for daring to talk back to you, I guess? Nightblue at this point then actually uploaded a video, which actually, yeah, you can go watch it if you want. I'll do some highlights, but it pretty much did clarify everything. Very satisfactory, I should say. So here he shows that he does use the word whore to self-mute himself. He does this so that he can't continue to engage in flame wars, and so that people know that he can't engage in the flame wars, so that maybe they stop trying to flame and instead focus on the game, which actually is kind of smart, don't you think?
Alright, I'm muting myself this game. This is rough. Once I'm 6, I'll have a fighting chance.
So now what Nightblue shows is that the Sona continued to flame him, and he continued to not respond to it, and in fact talked about responding to it. There's about 40 seconds missing, but I'm assuming because it's a video, he cut it out. Now, if in those 40 seconds he totally changed his attitude and flamed her hard for those 40 seconds, the only thing is I'm assuming people would have clipped that, people would have evidence of that, people would be talking about that. He was streaming to 5,000 viewers. So if during those 40 seconds, he completely changed his attitude 180 degrees and went into full misogynistic mode, well, you know.
Now, 17 minutes in, this Sona types, I don't know how Graves has negative impact and matches their keyboard. And I want you to pay attention to the timestamp there. It's about 17 and a half minutes. And I want you to hear what I said verbally in response to this. I have so many different words I could call this Sona, but I feel like it just would be low class. You know what I'm saying? Is there any point in typing to this Sona? I could say so many things, dude. So many. At this point, I point out I could say things to Sona, but I don't want to respond. I'm trying to be better. I'm trying not to be toxic. Even though I've been getting flamed the entire game. I'll smite it, don't worry. I left this part in to show you the conversation with Sona did end.
You thought you were getting the tower.
I just talking about Harold and the tower.
Little did you know, I'm here to smite.
And here at 1920, this is when I type whore in the chat, and this is where all the confusion started. No one's typed anything for 2 minutes. The whole conversation with Sona is over by now. I've been getting flamed the entire game by both Sona and Katarina. And now people are assuming that I know this player's gender, I know this player personally, and I'm calling them a whore.
So his video shows that no, he did not call her a whore. No, he wasn't insulting her in voice chat. Yes, he was in a losing game as a jungler where he was getting flamed. He was very frustrated. Now people assume during those 40 seconds he must have been saying horrible things. But again, there's no proof of that. And again, if you go back and you watch the previous time that he himself showed it, he's sitting there not doing anything, and then he types it to self-mute. I'm going to assume, as someone who engages in flaming in solo queue, that he just sort of felt the urge and then stopped himself by self-muting.
This is rough. Once I'm 6, I'll have a fighting chance.
So this all seems pretty conclusive, right? He's conclusively shown that not only was he not engaging in a flame war, but actually he was trying to disengage from a flame war, that he wasn't flaming her back. He didn't know who she was. There's nothing at all really out of the ordinary going on in this game. He's typed that word before. It actually is something of a meme in the League community. I'm sure you've all seen it, that you get system muted for typing something as simple as whore. Before Nightblue even released his video giving his side of this story, Last Shadow went on his stream and said absolutely horrible, unverified things about Nightblue, and that's why I'm making this video. Because the behavior that Last Shadow is using is literally to swing his giant community into people and bully them in order to build up his own ego. He's done this time and time again. So let me show you a clip with absolutely insane accusations.
So the TLDR is Nightblue called a female streamer in his game a whore, and then he claims that he's not calling her a whore. He says that he just happened to coincidentally use the word whore in League chat to get himself self-muted. That's what he's claiming, that he's not referring to her as a whore. Right. So you know what? When he's in a game with me, he's gonna type the F word, the slur for LGBT people, but it's not targeted at anyone. It's not targeted at anyone. Yeah. I almost actually wrote that on Twitter. I was going to ask him to call me an F word, and I was curious if he would try to punch up instead of just punch down.
Following Nightblue releasing his video, did Last Shadow apologize? Yeah, he actually did apologize. He said, look, it's wrong for me to insinuate that Nightblue is homophobic just because I don't like him. And actually, if I'd listened to both sides, no, actually everything I'm saying is complete bullshit. Not only did he not apologize for anything he was saying, he doubled down, played the victim, said, oh man, after it was factually proven I was lying, people gave me all this hate. Then, responding to other people, he then claimed that Nightblue edited his video. He edited it. He's making that claim. On what basis? I don't know, but that is a very bold claim. This is actually kind of a common tactic lately. If you're ever proven wrong in an argument, what you do is you don't actually respond to the video or everything that's proving you wrong. You cherry pick the things that are being DM'd at you, make it seem far worse than it actually is. Then you cite mental health as a reason to not respond to try to make yourself look good and make the other people look bad. This is all, of course, ignoring the fact that the horrible hate that Last Shadow flung on Nightblue was probably significantly worse because he was insinuating he was this horrible person. He was sexist and he was homophobic. That's awful. Can you imagine the kind of DMs and hate that he was getting? Well, that's gonna lead into this next part. So after posting his initial pity tweet, kind of just trying to get people to pity him and playing the victim, the person responds, you spread misinformation and you think there won't be outlash. The same people that are in your DMs now are those who were in Nightblue's DMs when you made the false accusations based on witch hunting. So do what an adult should do and apologize. Yes, this guy gets it. The same hate that Last Shadow is getting now is not even half the hate that Nightblue is getting because of how horrible the accusations were. This person responds, bro, you can disagree with someone's opinion on Nightblue's situation, but this is ridiculous. No one should get this treatment. I disagreed with LS when the drama started. You know what I did? I commented, I think you're in the wrong here and this is why, like an adult. This person wasn't saying this hate was justified. He was saying this is the same hate that Last Shadow had set upon Nightblue. The person obviously responds correctly. The point is we have a situation where LS was very clearly in the wrong. He needs to apologize. But guess what? He didn't. And now we're having this conversation where LS is the victim. The kind of deflection is a common gaslighting and manipulation tactic. I keep saying this. This is a very common tactic. LS not responding to anything about him being wrong, not responding to any of this, nothing. He immediately says, where am I saying I'm a victim? Which I'm sure he'll try to cancel me for, but yeah, that's what it sounds like. He's a little fucking nerd. And I can say this because everybody hates me and this is what we're all thinking. He's a little fucking nerd who got popular and swings his giant community at people in a hateful barrage, then refuses to take any responsibility for what he's doing, deflects away from the entire conversation and go, where am I the victim in my post about me being the victim? Show me where I used the word victim, unless you can show me using the word victim. Like, oh my God, he plays semantics so much. He's a little, so this person responds, you might not be saying it directly, but the screenshots you posted imply it. Yes. This can be interpreted as a multiplier for people to double down on shitting in Nightblue's DMs. He apologized in his video. If you don't think you should do too, we should all just move on. Yes, he's getting the best advice. Last Shadow's getting the best advice he can do, and yet the narcissistic he is cannot accept it. No, it doesn't imply it. Yes, actually, Last Shadow, yes, you are doing a pity party. I'm simply showing how insane these people are and how clueless they are to even realizing what actually happened, even when everything for it still exists. And some doesn't, because editing is cool. Yeah, so once again, he's doubling down on the editing argument. Of course, Nightblue edited the video. Of course he did. Because Last Shadow, you can't be wrong. You can't. You mentally cannot accept that you're wrong. You literally can't. Can we also appreciate that his argument seems to be, yes, this hate is awful, but you're hating the wrong person. Give this hate to that person. You don't even care to know what happened. The only information you have used is your own prejudice against Nightblue and the one-sided information of Florence. All fans are always insane. It's why it's short for fanatics, and that includes yours. Once again, he's getting a great argument. So he doubles down again. I literally went off everything that is still publicly available and a bit more. I have no idea what you're saying, LOL. So yes, Nightblue's a little bitch. Can we all just agree he's a little bitch? He's a little bitch. Seriously, honest to God, I've never seen such a little bitch in all my life. And let's just appreciate for a second that none of his arguments here seem to be that, hating on Nightblue was bad. His arguments literally seem to boil down to, why am I getting the hate? You need to hate that guy. That guy is the one to hate, which That's dangerous. This man is actually dangerous. In this series of tweets, LS is actually pinned down and forced to admit that he does not think the Nightblue video is actually edited. However, as is pretty clear to anyone paying attention, he put out the original tweet with the 100% intention of insinuating it was edited, and therefore we could all discredit it. However, in this series of tweets, he's claiming it's edited, which means he didn't watch it. There's literal in-game timestamps that cannot be altered. LS responds to this in the Weasley way, just posting the English definitions of the word and actually refusing to actually address the fact that he called it an edited video, which we would all assume to mean in some way manipulated, that the footage was manipulated. The person replies to this Weasley statement, point out to me exactly what has been edited, altered, manipulated, however you want to rephrase it this time. In-game, that would spin the context in NB3's favor. A video cut of what he's currently doing doesn't affect what's happening in-game. The chat logs arrest for that. This person is saying even if the video was compiled from different scenes in the game, that wouldn't actually affect anything at all. So by trying to say that it's edited, he's just misdirecting, and he's trying to use the literal definitions of the word to insinuate that the footage has been altered, but then when called out on it, doubles back here and says, in the Weasley way possible, felt like altered is a better word to help you understand, but they both fit. It seems like using the definition literally is something beyond your ability, or what? I quite literally said it's edited, which it very clearly is. I didn't claim he altered the footage. So what Last Shadow did here is another Weasley argumentative tactic. What he did is he put out the original tweet, this video is edited, discredited, he has altered it. Then when someone pinned him down, he said, oh, I meant he actually he compiled footage like in an editor. You know, it's edited, ha ha ha. I mean, that's what we all assumed, right? That's what everyone assumed, correct? Everyone assumed that's what he meant, right? He's a little lying weasel. That's what he is. That's what this is. Has he tried using the word compiled? No, because that ruined the insinuation he was so desperately trying to make. Now this brings us finally to LS's stream, where he proves his point once and for all by doing in his series of very one-sided watching Nightblue's video and doing gotchas over and over again. In order to disprove all these gotchas, the best way to do it is to actually dissect it and think about what he's saying. So that's what I'm going to do. Every time he tries to do a gotcha moment, I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna dissect why it's actually wrong.
This all began yesterday morning when I woke up to see myself getting virtually suplexed by a fellow content creator that goes by the name of LS. And that came along with a lot of mean, nasty, hateful tweets sent my direction.
So this is very weird already off the get-go. One, the tonality of the video starts off with having some sort of like a joking, playful nature to the video that I feel like is very misaligned with actually what is happening.
Just to be clear, Nightblue3 typed horror in-game in order to server mute himself so that he could not participate in any flame. Don't let LS's attempt to have some somber, serious tone make them seem like a more serious issue. That is quite literally what happened.
The second thing is that he says that he woke up to this while he was directly engaging with me on these quote-unquote suplexes.
Okay, Nightblue3 is quite obviously talking about the hate messages he had received after said argument. Obviously, the suplexes are because Last Shadow took it way too far and insinuating he was a sexist homophobe. Obviously, these hate messages were pouring in for the entire next day. So, I mean, that's pretty clearly, obviously, what he's talking about. He's not talking about the first original conversation. Last Shadow is trying to do a gotcha here, like, no, but you were talking to me, yeah.
So when he says that he woke up to getting virtually suplexed, it's already not genuine because he makes the decision to make a video later and he also deletes tweets on that day. So he didn't wake up to anything. He was doing it in the middle of it. In fact, he was actually still streaming while engaging with me.
Just to be clear here, he was not engaging with you, Last Shadow. You were tweeting out that he was a horrible, horrible person while he was streaming, and you were stressing him out, and you were giving him anxiety, and he was trying to respond to you to get you to stop. He was not engaging with you, you psychopath. You were attacking him relentlessly while he was minding his own business streaming, and he tried to defend himself.
The timeline and the accuracy of these things are just being reframed. I don't know.
Okay, so once again, Ellis is using his argument style where he just repeatedly says the same thing over and over again, hoping that eventually you'll just accept his truth. He was clearly not saying he woke up to the conversation with Ellis. He's clearly saying that he woke up to the hate messages. Ellis is either too stupid to realize that, or he's just trying to lie to you guys again.
Extrude the part of the whore thing, which I will explain. And on top of that, they were very disingenuous.
So already he says the video is going to be in chronological order, but he starts with her tweets, while later on inside of the video evidently does show a VOD review of the game. I just want to highlight that.
Ellis actually does have a point here. I do agree. He started his video by explaining the drama, and then later on he's going to go into the VOD defending himself from the drama. Yes, that is literally how essays work, Last Shadow. You begin with an introduction and then you go into the actual arguments. Is he mentally okay? How is that even a gotcha?
I've never hinted at any sort of misogyny in my life. So what I had replied to this person was,
as a major content creator, streamer, YouTuber, whatever, it is a really serious allegation to be accused of misogyny.
You're right, it is a very serious accusation. I hope the people doing it give it the proper respect it deserves and don't just make it over extremely stupid things.
It's a really serious thing to have it insinuated that you're being misogynistic.
Yes, it is extremely bad when you insinuate that someone is doing bad things. That's why we take care to not insinuate that people are doing horrible things, right, Last Shadow?
To have it insinuated that you're being homophobic.
Oh, wow, that didn't take long.
To have it insinuated that you're being racist.
I don't even know where this one came from.
To have it insinuated that you're being xenophobic, etc.
Okay, so what he'll say is that, oh, he's just using these as examples, but the fact he's bringing up all these terrible things, some of which he's literally accused him of in the past, is he's trying to put them right next to Nightblue's name.
And generally, when this ends up happening for content creators, and Nightblue has been in the game for over a decade now at this point, I believe, and a lot of content creators all really know that when you get accused of this, it's really important to actually directly confront the accusation.
So, Ellis, anytime you accuse anyone of anything, they are forced to have to come to you and beg you for mercy to stop making the accusation? Seriously, when I keep calling him a psychopath, he's a narcissist psychopath, dude, I swear.
Because the accusation can run wild. 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 And so that's why I think the follow-up, which he's about to start going into, is actually really odd. I think that what you can find is with most content creators, streamers, League of Legends personalities, etc., when they're usually accused of really serious things, one of the first things that they actually do is deny it.
Last Shadow actually shot a homeless man and cut apart his body to sell his organs on the black market last night. I actually saw it myself.
Whereas Nightblue's tweet, again, it's not engaging with anyone. In fact, because he's directly responding to Florence, the only people that can actually see this are people that follow both, I believe, Nightblue and Florence, unless other people engage with the tweet that you're following. And so what that means is that he's just responding to Florence, and that there's a very limited range of people that can actually see the tweet or that would catch the tweet unless it's being brought to his attention while streaming.
Just to prove all of this is complete bullshit, I literally just went to Twitter. It took 15 seconds. I saw a tweet of Nightblue on my feed, and then scrolling down, you can see a tweet by someone I never follow, responding to someone I do follow her, saying, I thought the Rizzler never loses. I don't follow this person, and I'm seeing her tweet instead of the person I actually follow. Who knew Twitter was weird?
So the fact that when she's making the claim that this is what he did inside of a game, and his immediate response is not to deny it, but to just leave a question mark and then say what he said, it almost just looks like, well, here's what you did, or this is what happened, right? That's the way that it reads.
Maybe that's the way it reads to you, but that's not the way it reads to me, and considering she didn't include any screenshots at all of what she was claiming, and instead he included screenshots of his own, it looked to me like he was refuting what she was saying.
So I just thought that was really weird, because again, when you're accused of these things, it's insinuated that you did these things, etc.
Last Shadow kills homeless people to harvest their organs. He has been doing this for years, and that's what he's right about to talk about.
And as someone that has directly been engaged in stuff like this, right? A lot of people will reference the stuff that happened with me in Korea a couple of years ago.
Why isn't he denying that he kills homeless people for their organs? I don't understand.
And I mean, there's been other instances of something like this happening, right? I talked about with I Will Dominate about the instance that he had a couple of years ago. The whole interaction thing is really weird. And again, he makes these tweets while he's still live streaming to his audience, and he's not expecting anyone to really engage, because up until this point, no one has engaged with it. It's just him responding to her.
Yes, because it wasn't a very serious accusation and it had no proof whatsoever, Last Shadow. Your dumb narcissistic ass is the one who took this and ran with it and put it out for everyone to see it. Plus, if nobody saw it, how the hell did you find it?
And that's why I thought posting screenshots of the game where she was actually flaming me the entire game and instigating, and I didn't even respond. And I will show you every single interaction in this VOD that I had with any.
I disagree.
Yeah, but I don't believe anything you say, so I don't give a shit what you think. What he says sounds good to me.
The way that I think that his tweet reads is that she's saying that she's called a whore, and his tweet reads as, "What are you saying? Look at what you were doing." As if it's fine what I did, or what I insinuated, or what was said. That's the way that the tweet reads.
You know, he sure went from "that's the way it reads to me" to "that's actually 100% the way it reads." No, it doesn't. That's the way it reads to you, and you're clearly extremely biased here, so I don't believe a goddamn thing.
And I think that if that wasn't the case, then immediately as a follow-up to anything, there should have just been something that immediately was interjected into everything going on that clarifies that point.
Here we can see, in fact, that Nightblue did try to clarify the point, clarifying why he self-muted, and here we can see LS taking his entire community, dismissing his clarification, and then further attacking him for trying to clarify it. So actually doing what LS said played right into LS's trap, because then he just used it to attack him.
One of the things that's really weird that immediately comes to my mind is that if she's a total nobody, or she's a total random, or if he doesn't actually know who she was, or her chat doesn't know who she was, how is it that he's able to go to her Twitter immediately after the game, locate her Twitter, and then respond to it, if his chat is not also bringing all of this stuff up?
Here's a tweet from someone I don't follow, but instead someone I do follows that I'm being shown on my feed. Here's a tweet from someone I don't follow who is someone I do follow replying to them, once again being shown on my feed. Here's a tweet from someone I follow that just liked it being shown on my feed. Here's a tweet from an asshole. That's the joke.
So that's where I think the VOD actually does come into play, because what is his chat actually saying about what is going on, and then what is also said after the game and what is said before the game, because Florence shows a screenshot of Nightblue actually looking at her profile, and I think this is where the chat actually does come in, and why the follow-up of it matters, like the recorded Twitch chat on the VOD. But I mean, that's something that we can also talk about later at later stages of this video.
I think it's pretty clear to everyone what Last Shadow is doing here is fishing. He literally wants to find something, anything he can use to justify his position. If it's something his chat said, if it's anything, he's desperate to find any reason to hate this man.
It really hurts me today to be so quickly judged and attacked.
He literally cuts mid-sentence that it really hurts him today. I don't know, I just...
Got him. I mean, I don't understand. LS just won this argument. He did a bad cut in his edit. Wow, LS, you got him. Nailed him. Haha.
Act and be called mentally ill, piece of shit, misogynistic, and a...
Didn't call him mentally ill, but we'll talk about that as well inside of the screenshot, because if we want to be really specific and accurate with things that are being said, something that I take really serious.
LS is technically correct. He didn't call him mentally ill. He just called him ill. And one of the most perplexing pieces of shit that was ever birthed from the LoL community.
Also, I want to say that I do actually agree with him that I think that both him and the Sona player, I think the Sona player's comments throughout the game can definitely be really annoying. And I do agree that he was not like flaming, like he's using the sarcastic comments and stuff like that, but I agree with what he said at the very beginning of the video, and that it's extremely tame. Anyone who's like watched Korean solo queue, or you guys watch like EU West, or like even some of the like really toxic games in NA, you can see stuff, and this is extremely tame in comparison. I don't think that either Nightblue or the Sona or the Katarina inside of the game did anything that is actually bannable. until you get to the self-mute function, and at which point, I mean, that's its own conversation.
Okay, I'm just gonna skip forward because obviously LS is saying here that nothing Nightblue did in this game was even remotely toxic. He was just responding to someone sarcastically. He was a jungler. He was getting flamed. I'm sure anyone who's played jungler knows how this is. He's saying the only issue he had is that when he muted himself, when he muted himself, that was bad, because All
right, so again, to reiterate, this all takes place in about a 45-second window, and everything that we just transcribed out that he just mentioned prior to this moment. Okay, so I think all of this context has to actually come together. Now, Florence tried to get this clip, but again, when she went to try to get the clip, obviously clips are all deleted. The clips are all deleted. Now, some clips do exist from the stream that I do have one that I will play later on because it plays into later in the video.
If this 45 seconds that are missing where nothing was typed, nothing happens, where he's not even talking, if that was somehow where he went on a crazy rant, why would they only save the clips that we'll see in the future? Why not the one that destroys his career?
But Florence was not able to get this. So obviously, yes, he does include this in this part of his video, and this is a part that I talked about with several different creators inside of the scene, all from everywhere, right? Streamers, YouTubers, etc. And this was also a clip that I specifically talked about with Riot.
So did anyone agree with you? Did Riot agree with you? You went and talked to Riot? You tried to tell Nightblue to Riot? You were like trying to get him banned from Riot? I'll go into that later, but the fact that he's not saying anyone agreed with him and no one is willing to say they agreed with him,
So this is where he types whore. Now you notice the in-game timer says 1918. So again, nothing is being said in chat, nothing is being pinged, nothing is going on. Now this comes immediately following the rant where he says that there's so many things that he would want to say to this Sona. Now he's already displayed that he's willing to target mute, ping, etc. certain people inside of the game. Now the main thing here is, as a streamer and as a content creator, okay, there is a massive insinuation, I think, with what is going on here. And this is the thing that I talked about with many, many other streamers over the last, day.
Did any of them agree with you? Did any of them agree with you? Who? Name names. Did Riot agree with you? Did anyone agree with you? Riot can certainly look into this, right? Certainly someone could look into this if something happened, but I don't understand. Did anyone actually agree with you on this, or were you just talking?
Just to talk about this exact topic. Nightblue has been a streamer for, I think, over a decade now at this point. So I think that he would have to really feign ignorance to what is actually happening here. When he goes to type the word whore, as you guys can see, it's starting to type it, notice that his eyes are on his Twitch chat. The entire time as he hits enter and as whore is about to be said, 20-minute surrender vote's about to come up, literally nothing is being said in the chat. There's no spam pings, there's no text messages, nothing is happening. You have Nexus turrets exposed, your Volibear's down 4 levels, you're not clearly going to play the game. He talked about already inside of the game how he's being held hostage, right? Someone hostage voted the 15-minute surrender, etc. In 1920, this is when I type whore in the chat, and this is where all the confusion started. No one's typed anything for 2. He types whore, he keeps smiling, keeps looking at his Twitch chat. He was looking at his Twitch chat as he types the whore. He's not even looking at the actual game. League of Legends personalities and streamers are aware that there's certain words that can actually get you self-banned. And I think that some of them have very different degrees. There are some streamers that use the word midget in order to do the self-mute, and the argument with self-muting is that it gives the global notification off, right? Whereas if you just tell everyone that they're muted, it might not have the same effect. That's some of the arguments that I've heard from other streamers or League of Legends personalities on why they would not just do the slash mute all. I think this part is indefensible, pretty much, right? That not only does he use the word inside of this game, but then goes on to defend the usage of it inside of other games. But realistically, that shouldn't be fine anyway, because he's putting it into Riot's system, which means that Riot detects it, it goes on his account, yada, yada, yada.
I'm legitimately getting lost because I don't think whore is the worst thing anyone has said. LS has literally said worse things than whore on a day-by-day basis. I'm sure he said a worse thing on the stream he did today. I don't know if he streamed today, but if he did, he definitely said something worse. Literally, this is such witch hunting, I can't believe it.
My main gripe with this is that the body language in the cam followed by the rant about Sona, and it all happening so quickly in such a short time frame with seemingly no functional usage to self-mute at this stage of the game. There's no benefit to doing the self-mute unless there is an insinuation implied as a content creator and as a streamer. And as someone that's been doing this for 10 years, as someone that is a streamer and a content creator and knows how to play off of chat and knows how to react to chat and, drive insinuations and all this other stuff, it's all woven together. And this is the part where I felt like, okay, I'm going to take my own stance on this, and I will see what many others think on this specific part of the VOD.
And what did they think? This is the third time you're mentioning it. What did they think? Can you tell me what they thought?
2 minutes. The whole conversation with Sona is over by now. I've been getting flamed the entire game by both Sona and Katarina, and now people are assuming that I know this player's gender, I know this player personally, and I'm calling them. It doesn't matter if he knows the player's gender. It's literally the same exact thing with the Dom situation, which is actually what I talked about with Dom way back in the day. The word itself is already really, like, yes, the word itself is already bad. It doesn't, the assuming of her gender and the other stuff that comes in later on is tied into a different matter in itself, but I think that it's really weird how the basis of this doesn't matter in general.
Let me just give this a full response. Effectively, LS is saying he's coming up with this crazy theory that obviously Nightblue thought of saying something, and then he muted himself so he didn't. But he thought about it, which is just as bad. Stopping himself from maybe potentially saying something is just as bad as having said it. That is the actual line of thought here.
The asterisk here would be that I might, well, no, I mean, I can't agree. I think that the insinuation with the webcam as well as the rant that was right before typing that, when seemingly there's no functional usage to do it other than what, content baiting on stream or something. But no matter what, for it even to be content baiting and for his chat to laugh and kick W and everything, they would have to accept the insinuation. Even after the game ends with the thing, he's like, joking with chat, etc. It's weird that he goes at the Sona again, whereas in the game he just directly muted the cat. And I felt like the cat was actually being way more annoying, just as a personal thing.
Why does he think it's weird that he muted the person who was being very frustrating and exasperating, whereas didn't mute the person who was just being passive aggressive? Isn't that normal? The person who's just being worse, you mute the person who's being worse, you don't mute the person who's just being passive aggressive. Why is that blowing his mind?
I think the Sona stuff is actually really annoying too. Ultimately, I do think that everything is pretty tame. But the end of the game, specifically targeting the Sona, again, I think it all ties in together with the insinuation, with the the non-functionality self-mute after the rant specifically about Sona, with all the words that we transcribed on stream.
At the end of the game, I also sarcastically honored the Sona who went 0-7-1 and was instigating the entire game, and I said, "Good job, bro."
I mean, I often call people I think are women bro. Doesn't everyone else do that? It's such a normal thing, right?
People can see that you're muted and they won't bother.
Right, people can see that you're muted, which is the whole point. Whereas when he mutes Katarina doesn't know that she's being mute pinged and muted. So why, when nothing was being said in the in-game chat, 45 seconds out from another surrender vote after a rant about the Sona, does he feel the need to use the word to notify his teammates that he has used a self-mute function with the insinuation that is present from the webcam? I think it all ties in together. The amount of ignorance that would have to be claimed as a content creator that knows how to play off of chat, knows how to do stuff, because the joke isn't funny, him laughing or smiling, etc., while looking at his Twitch chat the entire time, it doesn't hit unless the chat gets the insinuation. That's just the way that it is.
Okay, I typed this all up to try to follow along this entire conspiracy theory. 1, Nightblue3 had to know Florence was a girl, because only a girl would be named Florence. So I figured I'd just throw this one in real quick. Florence is actually a city in Italy. So I'm not quite sure where LS is coming from. I'm sure several people actually know what Florence is. And yeah, that's it. I don't know why this would immediately signify that you are a woman. Nightblue3 had to be secretly sexist. So over the last 10 years, no one has ever figured out that he's sexist. Until now, only LS is pieces together. He didn't mute Sona because she was a girl. That had to be true. There had to be no other reason. Even though LS has said himself that the Katarina was more annoying and that's why the Katarina got muted, he didn't mute Sona because it was a girl, which doesn't make any sense when you think about it. At the end of the game, all his thoughts were sexist. He couldn't have been thinking anything else negative to type to the Sona. It all had to be sexist thoughts because reasons. Then he didn't reply to the Sona being passive aggressive to him at the end of the game because question mark. Now, as we all know, I think you guys have known some misogynistic men. Misogynistic men often don't take kindly to being insulted by women, do they? And I don't think if he was truly sexist that he would just sit there the entire game just sort of being sarcastic while taking it all. At the end of the game, he also had to be looking at his chat. He couldn't have been looking at Discord, he couldn't have been looking at Reddit, none of that. He had to be looking at his chat. His chat also had to know he was looking at them. The body language, right? The chat had to know when he looked to the right that he was looking directly into chat, because that would be the only way that this joke would work. He laughed then because he typed the funny word. It couldn't be he was self-muting while reading something. It couldn't have been a funny meme. It couldn't have been a funny copy pasta. It couldn't have been anything at all. He laughed because he typed the funny word. Then he had to already know who she was, despite this being her first game with him, which we've all been clear on that, right? It couldn't have been anything else. He had to have known who she was, right? And only LS was able to piece this all together. LS, who is famously really good with people and has always managed to hold down jobs because his personal interactions are always really nice, and he's good at reading people, right? The issue with all of this is, assuming all of this was true, this would still be bullshit, because then all you've proven through this absolutely ridiculous conspiracy theory, all you've proven is that he thought about typing something bad and then didn't. And is that the end of the world? Even if this is all true, he thought about typing something bad and then he didn't.
He's claiming that he's not referring to
That sounds
her
like
as a
some
whore.
copium.
Right. So you know what? When he's in a game with me, he's gonna type the F word.
So do you think LS apologizes for this with his insinuation with Forrest that Nightblue is homophobic? No, and he rants for a long time. I'm gonna show this just to show it, but he rants. He never admits any fault. It goes on for a while.
So what I'm referencing here with the F word and the LGBT thing is because, again, his rant with Sona, the rant when he's inside his red side jungle saying that there's so many things that he could say about her, and that it would just...
I'll just save you guys some time. I'll just cut him off here. He basically blames Nightblue for him insinuating he's homophobic. He does that for a while.
I think it's a direct insinuation. This is something that I take pretty serious and that I've conferred with many people on.
Once again, he's talked to people. No one has an opinion. No one's agreed with him. He just says he's talked to people and blah, 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 blah. You can tell I'm getting tired of this because he's just repeating the same points, and he's hoping that if he just keeps repeating them, his fans will be like, yay, LS, you got him. It's tiring, man. As I start to conclude this, these are my takeaways. Twitter pushes a system of get there first to get your good boy points. If you ever see someone starting the process of being dogpiled on, you need to run in there before you have any evidence whatsoever, and you need to try to get in on them to make sure that you have the most likes, impressions, etc. before they're farmed out for their drama. Because of this, people just aren't giving other people the amount of time needed to make a proper response. The fact that this drama starts and Nightblue, while streaming, is expected to make a response to all this, even though all the people watching him knows that this is bullshit, he has to make a response to the larger Twitter sphere that has no background knowledge and no idea whatsoever what actually happened here. LS once again will go to any lengths to avoid issuing any apology whatsoever. I think at this point we can all just agree he has some severe form of narcissism which just does not allow him to be wrong. Even when he has wrong staring him in the face, he will fight tooth and nail to not give any. Drama is stupid. All of this is stupid. Honest to God, this is all stupid. All of you are stupid. Everyone that listens to the excuses is stupid. Stop enabling stupid people to put and do stupid things to other people, okay? All stupid people do with their communities is attack other people, and it's frustrating, okay? Get a hobby. God damn.